Hello, I am Marsh from StrataGames, and today we're playing some Jund Wildfire. This is probably my favorite top meta deck in the format, but we're doing something a little bit different. Walker735, one of the creators or at least developers of the deck that we know, has been trying some different tech out recently. The big one being Gixian Infiltrator, which is a sweet card that some of us may know from Black Sack. It doesn't really see play in the deck now, but when you were first getting it up and going, it was a good card in there because you sacrifice permanents and it grows, right? Anytime you sacrifice any permanent at all, it's going to get bigger. Now, when I saw this, I thought it was kind of an interesting include in the deck. It's not very value-oriented. We are a mid-range deck, so we want cards that give lots and lots of value. But then I thought about it a little bit more and realized we have so many ways to sacrifice permanents that this is not value, but it is a 2-mana creature that can be absolutely enormous. Of course, you have your Chrysalises, which are going to make you 2 spawn, so this is going to grow alongside the Chrysalis. It can grow twice because of the spawn. Of course, we play Fanatical Offering and Eviscerator's Insight. That's 5 more cards that can sacrifice other permanents. We have things like Wellspring to sacrifice, so that's 9 different cards right now that can sacrifice things. Makeshift Munitions is a 10th. Lembas is an 11th. 2 Spell Bombs, that puts us to 13. 3 Krarks, that puts us to 16. 2 Blood Fountains can both be sacrificed, and the Blood Token can be sacrificed, so that puts us to 18, if I'm counting correctly. And then every single landscape also counts for this. So that's 22 different cards that can sacrifice in our deck, which is plenty. That's going to grow the Gixian Infiltrator, even if it just grows by a couple counters and it's like a 4-3, a 5-4, something like that. It's going to be attacking pretty aggressively. Of course, it can just be removed early on with a Lightning Bolt or even later on with a Cast Down, but it's still, if it cannot be removed, it's going to be a very quick threat that's going to kill your opponent. And there's a bit of a combo in the deck, which is the Infiltrator with the Krark Clan Shaman. Every time you sacrifice an artifact to the Shaman, the Infiltrator is, in response, going to grow by 1 counter, which means that the Shaman is never going to kill your own Infiltrator. Unless you had Death Touch on the Shaman. In this version, we are not running Death Touch at all, so that's not a concern. But that means that you can also sacrifice 7 or 8 artifacts, wipe your entire board, wipe their entire board, in order to make your Infiltrator, or multiple if you are lucky enough to have multiple out, lethal right away, assuming they're tapped out and only have ground creatures. That could just be kind of a combo win. In this version, because we have the Infiltrator, we're also playing, instead of Toxin Analysis as well, Unexpected Fangs. So we can give lifelink counter to any of our creatures. Obviously on a Krark, this is kind of cool because it'll keep the Shaman alive if you only deal 1 damage to everything, but also you'll gain life for each creature you hit, and you can do that every single turn. But also on a Chrysalis, or obviously an Infiltrator, it can gain you tons and tons of life, which can just make it impossible for your opponent to win if they are any sort of deck that's playing fair and trying to deal you, combat damage. We do sacrifice a couple things by including this. We don't have a lot of the utility that the deck's been running recently. Pulse of Marasa, Crypt Incursion, Fairy Macabre, none of those are main deck. And the big one that I think we lose is we are not playing a Nyxborn Hydra. Now, do we need it? Potentially not, since we have these as giant creatures, but no trample and no fireball type effect is a bit unfortunate. Because we're also running this a little bit more of an aggressive version, we're also doing, instead of cast downs, Galvanic Blasts, because then we can just do a little bit of extra reach, or we can clear a blocker for a little bit cheaper. So a lot of benefits to this, but of course some trade-offs as well. So other than that, it's pretty much a standard Jund Wildfire deck. We have, of course, our artifacts that we're going to sacrifice to draw a million cards. We have our Cleansing Wildfire to ramp us to our other creatures and just our card draw package and all that stuff. We have our late game engines like Blood Fountain, Makeshift Munitions, Refurb's of course a great card, and our mana base is almost entirely the same because we don't need 2 green for a Hydra. We're actually only playing 1 forest and 2 mountains as opposed to the other way around. And Spellbomb main deck is really good against graveyard oriented decks, and so that's pretty much the main deck. In our sideboard, we have a couple cast downs in case we just really need to kill a creature. This is good against Terror. It's good against anything that has a creature that is probably bigger than 4 toughness that really needs to die. Duress is obviously just good against any combo, any control, or even a lot of mid-range decks. Duress is just a fantastic card in the format in general. Breath Weapon can wipe the board. Just more ways to wipe the board, but also can wipe the board if our opponent is playing flyers, things like Fairies or White Weenie that has a lot of flyers. Red Blast / Pyroblast can hit your blue opponents, and then Weather the Storm can gain you some more life. So I'm very familiar with Jund Wildfire, but I'm very interested to see how this list goes. So let's give it a try, or rather let's take it for a spin and see how it goes. We have too many decks. There we are. All right, we're against Lindoso, who generally plays Boros Synth, which I don't know exactly if that's like a good or a bad matchup for Jund Wildfire. I know that we're both kind of mid-range decks. They're often a little bit more aggressive than we are, although in this version that might not be the case. But of course, they're also going to get dust to dust from the sideboard, which could be a little awkward. If we had 2 lands and one of them was a bridge, this would be an amazing hand, but unfortunately it's just not keepable. This one is going to be acceptable. I think I'm just getting rid of the Krark, knowing they're probably Boros Synth. Krark is not super relevant against them. And just start with a Furnace. Still looks like Synth to me, but not usually the start they would have. Yeah, there's a Garrison. We get our Krark back. Well, we're playing a Blood Fountain, and I guess I'll just play this landscape to get our green source. For Chrysalis, they just start with a Lembas, and looks like follow up with a Glint Hawk, or Inspector probably. There's the Glint Hawk. They bottom off the Lembas. We'll just get a green source. Refurb is a very nice draw. That lets us play that, have a blocker, and we can also hold up our Fanatical. If they try to kill the Familiar, we'll use it on that. Otherwise, we'll probably just do the Blood Token at the end step. They start with the Synth, hit a land drop, so I can play that, play a Lembas, and they do. They swing. Let's draw 2, see what I want to do here. I get down Chrysalis next turn. I think we'll just take it. Maybe I should just trade because I have the Blood Fountain going. And of course they are, as I said, a little bit more aggressive. We're seeing every Krark in our entire deck. Don't love that. I guess I could pump up this Familiar. Then they might trade, but then I could Fangs it. Then it just dies to removal spell. I think it might be worth it anyway. If they don't have the removal spell, maybe we just grow this a little bit. Cleansing Wildfire, we'll leave that on top. I don't mind a little bit of value when it looks like we'll probably be stable here. They could just Journey to Nowhere, but they're still only attacking for 2, so not a big deal. There is the Journey. Fair enough. We've seen all 3 Krarks, which is pretty annoying considering, as I said at the very beginning, we did not want to see them. They also just take out the Familiar. If we don't get a good draw here, we kind of don't get to play anything else, but I think we're going to pull out a Mountain and ramp a little bit. Bridge is fine, but I'm not going to put a Fangs on this spawn. They swing for 2. There's an Inspector. Get a Bridge. Well, I guess I might as well play a Krark. And I'll probably just Galvanic Blast the Hawk. They crack a Clue. We'll take that out, try to stem some of the bleeding. They do have another. Get a Radiant Fountain, play another Synth. Or rather, just play it again. They hit another land. Skyfisher. Just pick up the Lembas. Okay, I guess we'll just pass here. We get an Infiltrator. I mean, that could be good. We're certainly just playing it, and if they shoot it, we can just buy them both back, both it and the Refurb. Can't really do much else with it, because if I sacrifice Krark, it's going to survive the damage from the Krark, but it's not going to be able to survive like a bigger guy. I guess we're just blocking this here. I suppose if they just have like 2 or 3, well, 3 bolts and or Galvanics, that could be lethal here. Play the Lembas, and they have a Dawnbringer Cleric. I assume they'll exile the Refurb, and I'll probably just crack the Blood Fountain for it, because I was already thinking about doing it. It's not as much value as we'd like, but we don't have a lot else going on, and obviously if they're trying to take it away, I assume they'll kill the Infiltrator, though. Yeah, I can't do anything about that. They have a Thraben Charm to exile the graveyard now? Yeah, okay. Well, they only have 1 card in hand. Wildfire is not quite what I need. Bridge is kind of irrelevant too. I guess we're attacking with a Krark and we're throwing in Unexpected Fangs on it and hoping their last card isn't a bolt so we can gain a little bit of life and we'll pass. We can sack a land here to gain 3. I guess if we take it at 6, yeah, we'll just take it for now. They just pass, and we just keep drawing lands. Probably should have sacrificed 1 there, because I can only do 1 on each of our turns, but I was hoping to draw something relevant. I can only sack 1 until this will kill itself, which is what I mean. So I'll sack 1 now, I can sack 1 on their turn, but things are not looking good. I guess I'll do 1 more now, just in case. I'll do it before they deal damage. There's another Lembas, and a bolt on the Shaman. So I'm going to obviously sack 1 more. Do I want to sack 2? I can take out the Cleric. Yeah, we don't have any use for these lands at the moment anyway. We'll gain a little bit more. They crack their Synth, find another Lightning Bolt. We just get another Fangs. Well, I said that these cards were less value-oriented, and we are running out of value very quickly, drawing all of our Krarks, which to be fair are generally good value, just not in this matchup. All of our Fangs, and 1 of our Infiltrators. I guess I'll just try to trade these here. They have a Glint Hawk, replay the Lembas. They've seen a million flyers, so even a Chrysalis isn't really going to do it for us here. I Guess we'll play a Wellspring, though. Spell Bomb. Yeah, we're not going to be able to get out of that. Well, we get Breath Weapon and Duress. Take out those useless Krarks. I believe they usually play a couple Prismatic Strands in their deck, but we generally are not a deck that cares too much about Prismatic Strands. I mean, with Galvanic Blast, and then obviously Breath Weapon, maybe a little bit more, but Chrysalis is colorless. This is black. This is red. I think we could probably afford to take these out. They might even side out the Prismatics. Although knowing that we have the Infiltrators, maybe not, because that's pretty good against them. Munitions is decent. Clearing their flyers. Have to sack 2 or 3 to kill them, but still, I guess maybe not the best here. I don't know. Howdy, Big Mech. How's it going? Another one-lander. Gonna get rid of that. Another one-lander. Perfect. Okay, we'll get rid of the Fangs, and I kind of want to duress, like, a synth or something. Breath Weapon's going to be better late game. We'll keep the Blood Fountain because we want to have something to sacrifice to a Fanatical if we draw that. Ooh, Duress now, or I could just Wellspring. I guess we're just doing the Wellspring. What do you think about the challenge-winning build of Black Sack? Beckoners, but no Dark Ritual. Oh, they're just leading on synth here. Aggressive. Relic of Progenitus. They do have a land. Okay. I've been pretty open about the fact that I'm kind of anti-Beckoner in general. I don't think it is, the combo at least, is not very viable. It's not very likely to happen. I guess if I play this in Duress, I can't Chrysalis if I draw that next turn, but that's kind of low. I kind of want to take the synth if they bounce it. I don't know. I'll do this. So if the reason for including Beckoners is to combo, the chances of that happening on the draw on turn 4 without Dark Ritual is about less than 5%. And if you're going for the Dark Ritual and going for a turn 2 combo, it's less than 1.5%. So I'm not a big fan of it for that reason. But as additional copies of Supernatural Stamina, I'm still not the biggest fan because it's sorcery speed and 2 mana, but it is obviously very strong. Supernatural Stamina plus Nested Shambler is obviously a busted combo. Let's take the Synth, if there's nothing better. Synth or Thraben Charm. Yeah, we're definitely taking Synth with 2 more Glint Hawks in hand. That's very nice for us. This is why you like Duress against this type of deck. So now their deck kind of shuts down a little bit. And their Glint Hawks we know about for Breath Weapon, which is pretty nice. They're going to Relic. That's fine. We'll just play a Blood Fountain. Yeah, so for that reason, I personally also am very anti-Dark Ritual in Black Sack. I feel like for every one game where you get it to be really effective and it gets you a really good start, you have at least 5 games where not having an additional land is just brutal. So I am very okay with them not playing the Dark Rituals. And if I'm going to play Beckoner, I'm going to do it that way, for sure. Well, it's very nice that they have let us just wipe away their entire board. Obviously, they were trying to, since we took all their value away with the synth, they were just trying to go for an aggro play, which I think makes sense, but luckily we had the follow-up. Yeah, so I think the list was pretty decent. I liked a lot of it, but if it were me, I probably would not have been playing the Beckoners personally, but clearly they did work, and or I haven't seen the matches or anything, so I assume they did work, or maybe they just didn't get drawn a lot. But I absolutely am over the moon that Black Sack won a challenge. I had no doubt in my mind that it could. The deck is fantastic, but of course you just have to have somebody to actually do it. So a big fan of that. We will just keep drawing cards. We get a Chrysalis next turn, and they're just cycling through their relics. Did they play this Rustfield Bridge last turn? Yeah, so that's out of their hand. They flip up was that an Inspector from that? Okay, yeah. There's their Fountain, so we just know about a Thraben Charm, Crack a Clue, and another Inspector. Draw a bunch here, and we get a Refurb, we get Galvanic. So we're, of course, playing Chrysalis, Refurb, and I think we will do Cleansing Wildfire. Pull out another red, I guess. Maybe I should have gone green. If they do have Dust to Dust, they could cut us off green, but I'll leave up this Fangs just in case I want it for any reason. They have a Journey to Nowhere, and a Bolt for this guy. That's fine. Luckily, they've gone through, well, I was just going to say, they've gone through their relics, so they might not have a way to get rid of that, but Bog works. I don't know if I really care about these. I think we'll just take it. Their last card is Thraben Charm, so that's good to know about. Let's see. If I map onto this, and they want to use this Thraben Charm to kill my spawn, I'm very okay with that. That's totally fine by me. Cleansing Wildfire on top. Okay. Yeah, we don't really need that. Let's try to keep suiting this guy up, and then we can like Fangs it, and if they try to kill it, we can Galvanic Blast in response. I did know that we might draw land since we bin this. Well, more lands than I wanted, but that's okay. Let's cycle one of these. I still think we're in a pretty good spot. There's a Chrysalis. Play another Fountain and pass. They got a clue to crack. Looks like Dust to Dust might be coming out now. There it is. Yeah, take 2 Blood Fountains. Fair enough. Maybe shouldn't have put them both on the field for that very reason. I think that was probably a mistake. Lembas, they're going to swing. I'll block. Get rid of this land. And now we get another Chrysalis. If we can keep this one alive, this will be the one we'll use Fangs on to gain 1,000,000 life. Ooh, Refurb's a nice draw. Discard a card. It was a Galvanic Blast. So we still know they have a Thraben Charm. We'll swing and pass. Crack the Synth. They find a Skyfisher. Nice pickup. Get their Olympus. And if I try to crack like a spawn here, they're just going to Thraben Charm the Chrysalis down, I think. Whereas if I find another removal spell, I can actually keep it alive. So I think we're going to just hope that we can do that. Ooh, plus we get an Infiltrator, which is pretty good, because now we have 2 guys that grow as we sack things. So let's play a Landscape, because that's another thing we can sacrifice. Kick this off, and we'll see what they want to do. They just let it go by. Draw 2, another Fangs. Okay. Lembas. Don't need more land. Breath Weapon's pretty good, though. That can... yeah, I can use that in response to a Thraben Charm to pretty much wipe away their entire board, except for this Skyfisher. So I think we just pass, leave everything up. They got their Lembas and a Synth. I don't know why this isn't showing us now what they exile, but they got a Bolt. Good to know about. Lightning Bolt the Refurb. That's totally fine. They're going to pass here. I think we'll kind of force the issue by sacking some of these. They're going to die to the Breath Weapon anyway, so might as well do this. Crack a Lembas. I believe, yeah, we have no basics left, so actually let's not sack this Landscape. It can still be a combat trick, but we'll actually just be down a land. Oh, well. Doing all of that before we play this Infiltrator is kind of annoying. I actually don't want to play it now because it could die to a Breath Weapon. Well, I think we swing. We have a lot of tricks. So I feel like we're going to be able to have the last word, probably. They're going to block everything that's 6 damage. So I think we just Breath Weapon. No, if we Breath Weapon here, they Thraben Charm in response. So I think I can just Fangs on it and then blast down the Skyfisher. That's going to keep it alive. Then they Thraben Charm. Oh, they Prismatic Strands. Okay, fair enough. They did have that. Prevent all damage from a black source. I guess they could do red and then black. Well, let's just wipe away their board first. Breath Weapon. Still going to clear most of their blockers. And then they could do red to keep this alive and then black to keep it alive again and make it so we don't gain life, which they do red and then flashback on black. We also have a Fangs on this Chrysalis, though, so we are going to be gaining a bunch of life regardless, and we will just pass. They still have the Thraben Charm. If they can make another creature, they get an Inspector there. That would work. Although, actually, no, the Landscape will keep it alive, unless they have, like, a Bolt as well. They are going to go for it. Well, my only trick left is sack this Landscape, but we're going to try that. No land to get, but if it keeps this guy alive, well worth it. They crack a clue and pass the turn. Okay. Well, I'm going to swing with the team. They'll chump, play another Infiltrator, and we'll just flashback this Insight to draw 2 now. Grow the team. We get a Duress and a Refurb. I guess I'd rather just Duress them. Take a Lembas, and this could be a new card, or it could grow my guys. I think I'd rather it just be a new card. There's a Skyfisher. Journey to Nowhere. Okay, fair enough. Take a giant Chrysalis, or rather Infiltrator probably. Yep. Well, if they let this Chrysalis through, it's going to be lethal. I'm just going to cycle this. I could play it as a combat trick, but I think I'd rather just find something else. I have no basics left, so let's just shoot their land. Oh, I guess this is a duel, isn't it? That is not indestructible. Should have shot that, I guess. That's okay. They have a Thraben Charm. Okay, I can't keep it alive in response, so that's fine. We'll draw a card. It's another land. We'll swing for 6. They will take it. And they have only 1 mana for this Lembas, so we'll finish them off with the Galvanic. Considering we got that, the Duress on the Synth and then wiped away 3 Glinthawks, that was still quite the game. Definitely a tough match here. Going into game 3. We finally have a keepable one. It's not amazing, but we do get a turn to Wildfire and then Duress later. I like Fangs in this deck in theory, and I think it is good, but we just keep drawing them in our opener, and that's not really when you want them. We're going to get another black. No, a red. Yeah, we can already play a Chrysalis. We'll do a black here. And we're drawing 1,000,000 lands. I'm not going to play this bridge until really late, because I don't want to get dusted. Journey to Nowhere is a great hit for us off their exile. That's a waste. I guess they put it on the field so they can pick it up with the Skyfisher. That's not a total waste then. So I could play Chrysalis, but then if they just have like Skyfisher Journey, it's kind of annoying. I think I'll duress them. They do have the Dust to Dust, which I don't care about. I'll just play around. With Raven Charm, Lembas. It's the only thing that really searches here. Otherwise, their hand's kind of useless. So I think we do that. I'm just going to cycle a Landscape here. Find an Inspector. That's a pretty good draw. Crack a Clue. Play their Great Furnace. Draw a new card. We get another Duress. So I guess they don't have a way to get rid of the Chrysalis right now. If I play either of these, they're going to be able to take one with the Dust to Dust, so I might just want to duress them, take it away. They do have one unknown card, so I guess we'll just see what that is. It's a Bog. I don't care about the Prismatic or the Raven Charm is probably the best card here. Do I want to lose 2 lands? I guess it doesn't really matter. I have plenty of lands. Yeah, we'll take the Charm, actually. If they want to take away our lands and then not have it for like Blood Fountains and Refurbs later, I think I'm okay with that. If we didn't have 2 more lands in hand, I probably wouldn't, but yeah, they go for it. Don't have much else going on, so I don't blame them. Well, I guess we're just attacking and gaining life while they can't deal with it. We have nothing else going on, and they can be a bit of a burn deck with so much burn removal. So if I just gain a bunch of life, it could be a good way to survive. They get another Inspector here. Plus they can't Prismatic the Chrysalis, but they reveal a Journey to Nowhere right away. That's pretty lucky, I must say. And a Relic. I mean, I guess it depends on how many journeys they're playing. Maybe they're only playing 2, in which case it's very lucky. Maybe they're playing a bunch. And now we get a Blood Fountain. Irrelevant with this Synth. We'll just cycle this, and we're still drawing a million lands. I don't think it was too hasty to throw out the Fangs there. They didn't have anything going for them. I was playing around Prismatic Strands, all this stuff. But yeah, they do just Strands here. I probably should have used that on our own turn, so they couldn't have done that. To be fair, they pass. They have 1 card in hand. I guess we will just Blood Fountain here. Discard. I mean, Chrysalis is a good draw. Little awkward, we can't play it now, but I guess that's what we get for walking into the Dust to Dust intentionally. There's another Hawk for a Lembas. Swing for 3. There's the Lembas. If they leave the Synth in hand, we can take it away. And they do. We'll duress them. And yep, get that. And just play a Chrysalis. If they find a Skyfisher for this journey or anything like that, or another journey, then they can just get rid of this guy. Pick up their Bog here. For now, we're holding them off, but I mean, Refurb's not bad. They have a Bog and an Ancient Den in hand. They're going to swing. I feel like that means they drew a Galvanic Blast or a Lightning Bolt, but I'm not going to not block. I could just block 1. I think that's probably better. Now they Galvanic. I feel like they would want to do that in response to the block, because then I'd have to sack these or I wouldn't kill the Glint Hawk, but maybe not. If they play Bog, then I can sack the Blood Fountain. They Relic in response, but at least then their Relic's gone in case I get another one. Plus I'm using my mana at the very least. That's why I didn't want to block with both Refurbs, was because... or both creatures, because then we'd lose them both to exile. Wildfire, pull out our last basic. We get another Chrysalis. That's a good draw. I guess I'll swing. I'm still worried about the core Skyfisher Journey to Nowhere, but that's a land. We still know they have an Ancient Den in hand. No attacks is a good sign. Another Wildfire. We don't have any more targets. We're going to take out their Garrison. Cut them on mana a little bit. Offering's not bad. Let's just use that right now in case we get any interaction or anything, which we do. Galvanic and a Refurb. Very good draws here. They discard the Ancient Den. I think we just blast the Glint Hawk so we can get in with the Familiar. We're going to map it up. Probably should have just done that with the Spawn. Galvanic Blast we'll leave on top and swing. They don't chump. I mean, we'll grow it so that we're hitting them down to 5. We have a Galvanic on top, so any Refurb is lethal now. No, they have a Lembas, so that's not quite true. They're at 8, then double Refurb is still lethal there. They crack a Clue. Dust to Dust on the Refurbs. That's pretty good. Okay, well, now this is only 2 damage, and they have chump blockers, plus they still have the Journey sitting there. So as soon as they hit Skyfisher, we're in kind of a tough spot. They swing for 2. There's the Skyfisher. Well, that's not going great for us. They sack Lembas just in case, so there's no way they can really die here. Blood Fountain, but our graveyard doesn't have anything because they Dust to Dusted, that's right. This is 4 damage now, plus we get a redraw if we draw a dead card. This one's going to be close. They have an Inspector. Pass. Breath Weapon's pretty good, assuming they didn't draw Prismatic Strands or something. I think we're just going to do that in their upkeep, and I could shoot this too, but I'm still kind of holding out that if we get another Galvanic, although I should probably count how many we've used. We only have 1 left, so I should maybe just take this out. Another Inspector. The hair drawing very well. Pick up the Inspector for another clue. Crack one of them, and crack a clue. Galvanic off the top wins it for us. Wellspring is a redraw. Gixian blocks, I suppose, on the ground for a turn. Although we can't really sack anything unless we want to get rid of the Galvanic Blast. So that's not great. Plus, if we don't use Galvanic on a Skyfisher, we die to a Galvanic here. tough spot. They just bolt the Infiltrator. Okay. I would think they'd want to attack first to see. I guess if they have another bolt, then I'm dead either way. If they had the bolt, I guess this is the safest. I think we have to shoot one of these. I think if they had the bolt, the only reason they wouldn't have attacked first is if they had another one, I think. Although then they would have gotten with the Skyfishers. It would have been lethal. I don't really know. We're probably dead regardless. But if obviously if we top deck the other Galvanic now, it's going to feel a little silly. Oh, well, they Windscarred Crag, so that's not even going to work. We're going to pitch this bridge, and we get another bridge, and that's lethal. We can pick up a Gixian, I guess, as a blocker. Never give up, never surrender. Trades with an Inspector and keeps us alive for a turn. Block here. And we are dead. Very, very close. We maybe didn't play that perfectly. I feel like they drew incredibly well, but I'm sure there was probably some user error in there too. All right, round 2 here. We have a very good opening hand, finally, with a turn 2 Wildfire and a whole bunch of card draw. Looks like we are against, more Wildfires. Something blue, though, so whether those will resolve is a different matter. Consider makes me think Terror, probably, or like Dimir. Well, we're playing a 2-drop, which I guess the options are just these. I guess we'll go for this. We don't have a lined up land for next turn, so we would like if this gets countered, maybe we can get the next one through. But unfortunately, we're not really a deck that can just not cast something on turn 2 because they have a counter spell up. Not usually anyway, especially with exclusively Wildfires and no other land drops. They consider, they brainstorm. It is Dimir. I was right about that. Could get a pretty fast Terror down, but also if they spell pierce this, that'll be annoying. Okay, it goes off. That's very nice. We'll get green and not a bad draw. Obviously I would have preferred a land, so we could have jumped to 4 on turn 3, the whole point of the deck. They consider yet again. That's potentially a lot of terrors coming down. They cycle a Lorien first for a nice tunnel. There's one and a Delver. Okay, so Dimir Delver then. Munitions. I could just Wellspring and Galvanic the Delver. Obviously I would like to get a land drop off this Wildfire, but then I can only play a Blood Fountain. I guess that's probably best anyway. I really need to deploy lands. This time we'll get a red source. We hit another Galvanic. Well, this would be going a lot better if we just were drawing smoothly. They flipped the Delver. They did consider like 1,500 times, so I guess that makes sense. Flashback the Deep Analysis. We're going to be taking 8. But I guess Chrysalis is going to give us blockers for the Terror. At the very least, both Terrors, apparently. Then they just snuff it out. Probably. You're still not getting lands. This version only runs 20 lands, and I feel like I can't play Jund Wildfire without 21 lands at this point. This always happens. I could Galvanic the Aberration and take that out, but then we're taking 10. I think this is really the only choice. And we can't play Wellspring because we need these as blockers. Hey, how do you feel about Cast Down versus Galv Blast in Wildfire lists? In general, I am more a fan of Cast Down. I think the format, especially right now, is there are so many creatures that you want to kill, and you need to be able to kill no matter what. And 4 damage doesn't always do it. For example, we have 2 right here. And also, it's not always 4 damage. Often it is, but, especially after Dust to Dusts and things like that, they could certainly have a lot more stuff. Yeah, that's annoying. We're playing Galv Blast today because this is a specific list that we're trying from Walker 735 that uses Gixian Infiltrator. And so it's a little bit more of an aggressive list, and so we're using Galvanic Blasts for that reason. But in general, it's not my preference. We're going to get rid of that. We hit another offering. That doesn't matter if we sacrifice. Do you feel that Pauper decks in general are too greedy when it comes to their mana bases? That is a very interesting question. Okay, real quick, I have to think about this, because we got a Krark, which could wipe away the Terrors, but we don't play Toxin Analysis in this list, and so I'd have to sacrifice 5 artifacts, which I can't get unless I draw an untapped land. And then I could double Wellspring, sack them all, wipe the board, except for the Aberration. That's probably too much, so I probably just have to chump with this. Yeah, so I guess I'm doing, well, we're starting with a Wellspring either way. Do I think they're too greedy? Yes. I mean, they're so greedy, especially compared to other formats. When I was playing Standard and things 10 years ago, it was the rule of thumb was always 40% of your deck should be lands, which is, in a 60 card deck, that's 24 lands. And obviously that's not always the case, especially if you're more aggressive, you're going to be running fewer. If you're less aggressive, you're going to be running more. Like a lot of control decks run as many as like 27 sometimes, and a lot of aggro decks, even with that metric, run more like 21 or 22. But when I started playing Pauper, I was shocked by just how greedy every deck was. Like, the most lands that you see in a deck pretty much ever in like the hardest of control decks is like 22, maybe 23. We don't have 5 artifacts, so that's just going to be lethal. And of course, you know, land cyclers like Lorien, things like that, change the numbers a little bit. But even if you consider those full lands, a lot of times the decks are still not running anywhere near 24, right? Like, Jund, we're running, you know, 20 with no land cyclers. Terror's usually going to be running 16 lands with 4 Lorien, so that's kind of 20 lands, things like that. But even a lot of like Dimir control decks, which theoretically should have more lands, are running like 17 or 18 lands plus 4 Loriens, and so yeah, it's always extremely greedy. But with so much experience at this point, like, if you run more lands, you just flood out a lot of the time. So you might have like a better draw sometimes, but then because your opponents are playing greedy decks and because there's so much card draw, they're able to like worm the way out of it. I do think because Pauper is so greedy with their lands, it's more important than anywhere else that I've seen to mulligan properly. Like, mulliganing, I think, is already one of the hardest parts about Magic, and something that most people do very poorly because they're like, oh, I'll just keep a mediocre 7 and it'll be fine. I've literally mulliganed to 2 or 3 times in the last 2 weeks at my local Pauper events and crushed every single time I've mulliganed to 4. I'm not saying fewer cards is better, but it was like, this is like an okay 7, and then I get like a bad 6, and then I get a really bad 5, and rather than just keep it, I keep going down. And then mostly this has been with Esper Cryogen. Then I end up finding a 4-card hand that's 2 lands, Cryogen Relic, and a Glint Hawk, which is pretty much the best 4-card hand you could have. And then it's all worth it, essentially. And then I crushed with those decks, with those hands, because I was not greedy in those situations. But also the reason that you have to mulligan so low often is because I'm a deck with so much card draw and all this stuff and only 20 lands. Oh, heck yeah, I heard about Gixian Infiltrator. Yeah, I saw it and knew that we had to try it out. And so here we are. It's not going great so far. We had a pretty good first match, but it was close. And we lost, and then we just lost game 1 here. But we had a very good opening hand and then never naturally drew another land. It was all Wildfires, I think. I mean, this is a lot of cards to bring in, but Duress is great, Red Blast is great, Cast Down's great, and Galvanic's not great, Krark's not great, Munitions, Fangs, I don't love any of these, and everything else looks solid, so I think I'm pretty happy with this. The advantage of seeing another hand is often worth losing a card. Yeah, exactly. It's definitely a hard thing to learn. This hand has a lot of interaction, does have 2 lands, all of our colors of mana. I can start with Landscape, get black, bridge, duress them. It's too much interaction. Like, I have no card draw, but maybe I can just stall them long enough. I'm certainly not the best at mulliganing. I mean, this is a prime example. This might just be an easy mulligan, and I'm like, well, it's got things to play. But certainly if it's like, this hand doesn't do anything for 3 turns, I'm very okay with just getting rid of those hands most times. Well, we'll duress them and see if they have a Spell Pierce or a Brainstorm to put them away or whatever. Yep, there's a Spell Pierce. So yeah, I think most players, even newer players, are generally okay at mulliganing 1 time. Like, they're not usually so greedy that they're like, I'm not going to mulligan a single time. It's like, oh, this hand has 1 land, it's not very good. They mulligan that. But then they mulligan to a 6-card hand that also has 1 land, and they're like, well, might as well keep it. And absolutely, sometimes that is justifiable, especially like depending on the deck, right? If I'm playing Black Sack, I will very often keep a 6-card hand that's 1 land, because that's a deck that can operate off of 1 land and really does not like to lose that many cards. Okay, they are all gas. Well, all removal. Consider if I take this Lorien, they get unlucky. They might not be able to hit another land drop. Counterspell's annoying. We know about the removal. I guess if I just get Gixian down and can grow it, if I take the Cast Down, maybe it's okay. I think we just take that, though. And then the Lorien. Hope they get unlucky and just play a Spell Bomb here. So yeah, so many times, especially in paper, because obviously there's a time cost of having to mulligan again, right? If you're sitting there, not even if people are like, oh, look, they're not even considering now to get a land. Okay. They want to hold up that counterspell, which is fair. I think we'll still just play... I think I'll just play Familiar, because if I play Infiltrator, they'll just cast it down. I think this is fine. Come on. But yeah, so when you're actually there in the store, of course, there's a cost of time, whether it's time. I can just counter a terror if they play one, I guess. Not just that it's like, oh, we're going to go to time because I'm shuffling, but it's just like, oh, even if you're just playing casually, it's like, do I really want to spend another minute shuffling? And then what if that hand's bad? So like, so often when I'm playing against somebody, they're like, oh, I just don't want to shuffle again. And I am actively like, please just get a good hand. I'm not playing commander rules where I'm like, oh, you know, mulligan as much as you want, get a good hand. But I'm like, I would like to play a real game, even if you go to 4. Let's actually play a game. Well, we'll play this. They can cast it down. I could play another. At some point, I'll sack this spell bomb. Us being on 1 black is kind of awkward. I figure since I have a red blast, if they find a terror, I blast that, and then I'll spell bomb them. So, plus, obviously, if the spell bomb is on the, if we wait until we have infiltrators on the field, the spell bomb will grow them more. So I think that's something that I want to do. We just get another pyroblast. Okay. Well, I expect a cast down here, but if not, we'll just hit for 4. Fine with me. Do I need to be worried about a board wipe? That seems unlikely, right? If they brought in like Arms of Hadar, that'd be crazy. I think just a counter spell. Okay. Or maybe just 2 cast downs or something. There's one. Don't know their hand anymore. But yeah, of course playing Magic is tough. But honestly, I think that the mulliganing and sideboarding are probably 2 of the hardest things to do properly. All right, well, we'll shoot this. And if they have a counter spell, it'll get through. Maybe we get an untapped land and we can pyroblast this and spellbomb them. We can spellbomb them either way. I just want that card pretty badly. But we might have to just accept that we're not going to get it. Pyroblast. We can't leave this here, this whole board or graveyard, I don't think. Although they're not playing, well, they could be playing Gurmags, but they are playing Delvers, so that seems unlikely. It's more mono blue terror splash black for the cast down and the snuff out. But I can't get in if I don't do this. Yeah, I think we're just blowing this up and then spell bombing them. Grow, lose my card, sad face. But we hit for 5 and terrors are not coming, so even a Delver doesn't really block very nicely right now. So they kind of need more cast downs because also snuff out's a waste against these guys. Yeah, they have an Archaeologist. Okay. Counterspell or Hydroblast. They do take the counterspell. That means they can't block, though. I'll play a Blood Fountain. If they want to counter this, then I can get a Wellspring down. And if they don't, then I can, use it to grow this. They do. We'll just draw another. I couldn't really use the Blood Fountain anyway. We have 1 creature in our grave, and we only have 3 lands on the board, so I don't really care about it at the moment. They do chump. Yeah, going back to decks being greedy. I think the problem, you can't really... In the current meta, you can't really not be greedy. Like, if I'm currently playing a Jund Wildfire list with 20 lands. I prefer a list with 21 lands, but realistically, the deck could probably sustain, especially with the cyclers and all this stuff, could probably sustain like 23 lands or something. But with the meta, it's just like, well, then I will flood out too often compared to my opponents who, yeah, sometimes they'll get screwed because they're playing greedy, but sometimes they'll get paid off for it. And so... I don't know, it's just kind of like, if everyone was slower, it would be fine to be playing a more reasonable mana base, but since that's not what it is, it feels like you can't really afford to. Alright, that last hand did end up working with all the dresses and the red blasts. This hand looks pretty solid. Again, just 2 lands, Wildfire, a little bit of interaction. Hope we don't get steel sabotaged. They didn't even consider. We get a bridge, so I could just throw out a Blood Fountain, something I don't really care about getting countered, and then play a bridge, Spell Pierce. I'd prefer Cleansing Wildfire to resolve over like a Blood Fountain right now. Kind of in this match at all, I think. Ooh, they're missing land drops. That's good. So now I will do Spell Bomb if they want to let that go. Maybe I should have just Wildfired. Yeah, I think I'm fine with this though. Now I got my Wildfire off. Next turn I can get a Chrysalis. But I could have just done the Wildfire and blasted this. But also I kind of want to have, if I get another land, I could play Chrysalis with Red Blast backup. And then we can hopefully mop up the game pretty quickly. But they do have a Consider here. If they whiff on lands, we can get Chrysalis down regardless, though. But they put the card on top. They keep the card on top, but it's not a land. That is very greedy. Okay, unless it was this Lorien, but they were like passing through their turn. All right, Ice Tunnel. Okay, so we can get Chrysalis down, but obviously they could just snuff it out if they kept those in. For all we know, they had a bunch of snuff outs in their hand last game, and it was just not very good because of all our black creatures, but we're just putting this guy on the field. They do have the snuff out. Okay, fair enough. And 2 mana terror. Okay, guess they're not doing too poorly. I probably just, well, we're gonna play this. I can cast down this terror for 4. They dispel or something, and then I can red blast. Yeah, I think I'd rather do that on our turn and not lose. Or I could just, I don't have to do it now. I have all these card draw spells. I could just chump, draw 2. If they want to counter that, I can fight over that. Yeah, actually I like that better. This also lets us hold up our red blasts for if they try to get another terror down. So we'll block. Just draw 2 here. Hello, how's it going, Ben? That's fine, we get to draw 2. I don't mind the land drops for now. There's a serpent. I don't actually have to counter that on the stack, so we'll just let it go. And I guess I will insight this map here. I guess I'll probably shoot this at the end step here. I guess if they have a spell pierce, I'm giving that some use. But if they're fully tapped out, then I can kind of do whatever I want on my turn. Hydroblast, same thing. Chrysalis is great. That's actually going to be big enough to block the terror. I think we definitely want to kill one of these here, though. Probably just cast down the serpent. I should have tapped this landscape. That was a mistake, because now I can't cast down and hold up Pyroblast. Oops. Yeah, I was thinking I wanted to sack it, but that was not really that important. Now I don't have the Pyroblast up, which is annoying. Even though this could just eat this, obviously they know that. I'm just going to block here. Their goal probably being for me to block, lose all of my spawn to try to grow it, and then they cast it down or snuff it out. I'd rather just do it this way. I do have another serpent. Not a big deal. I didn't leave up the Pyroblast since it doesn't have ward. And we're going to pull out, I guess, a forest in case we end up with 2 more Chrysalises. Kalikai's played some Esper Glintblade today, bit of a different list though. I did not see that. That's pretty sweet. Bit of a different list. First thing that pops into my mind is no enforcers, using landscapes, or I even saw some people playing, I kind of want this. I even saw some people playing like gates as the mana base, anything like that, or something else. Yeah, I kind of want this card draw. This is pretty greedy, because if I can't kill these, it's problematic, but this draws me 4 cards with the Fanatical. Plus we have a chump blocker. Duress is good. And another Chrysalis is pretty good. Let's Duress, see if we can get like a cast down. Yep. Deep Analysis is their only card, and they only have 3 lands, so that's great. So we can block this. And then I could map onto this, which we'll hold this back too if we hit a spell, and it's an Infiltrator. I guess we can leave that on top. Alright, Enforcers, the Affinity 5/6 Serpent, yeah, Gear Seeker Serpent, plus Inspectors. It was a deck donation. Gotcha, okay. Yeah, we get to hold them back. Now we get another Chrysalis down with a Gixian. Very nice. Plus Inspectors. Yeah, I think... Ooh, they got a counterspell. Very nice. I've mentioned this in a couple of my videos with Esper, but I bit of a hot take potentially. I don't think Inspectors are a very good card at all. I think one of the benefits of being able to play Esper is that we don't have to play the Inspectors anymore. You kind of had to with... Orzhov, because, you know, you need more than just 12 threats. Glint Hawk, Refurb, and Skyfisher, and Boros. Ooh, that's a good draw from them. And Boros, of course, you also lose the Refurbs. So, personally, I think we'll just block here. Personally, I don't love the sound of that. I haven't seen the list, but I just think that Inspectors are subpar threats, and they're subpar card draw. And so, yeah, it didn't go great. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it has anything to do with what I'm mentioning. Well, we just went through all our basics, so I guess we'll take out their Ice Tunnel. Ooh, and we get another one of these. Plus we have a Red Blast for this. I guess we might as well do now. And hit for just 4 is probably fine. It does have to do with that. Okay. Yeah. I also watch a lot of Kalikai's, and I'm a big fan of his. But I also know that when he's playing any mid-range deck, he's often prone to conceding early, not being able to grind out the games as much. He much prefers the combo and storm lists, I know. I probably should have just sacked a land, because that would have given us an additional card we could sacrifice. Yeah, that was a bit of a mistake. Gixian, well, we can swing with this one. If he trades, then I can still get him with the others. Yeah, I could have grown even more. I could duress away this Deep Analysis, so they draw fewer cards, but actually, I'd rather they tap out for it, I think, so... He does not play tight when he plays non-combo. Yeah, exactly. So generally, I prefer to watch mid-range and even aggro and control decks when they're interesting, but certainly mid-range decks. But he is a little loose when he's playing those lists. Fanatical is a great draw that pretty much is lethal. Actually, it is lethal. I was thinking we were one off if we didn't hit here, but we're going to be able to get the match there. He's a combo guy for sure. Yeah, total opposite to me, I would say. I basically never play combo or storm or anything like that, and that's definitely his realm. Felt the same way about Inspector in my Jeskai Cryogen deck. I play it now, but only because there's not much else. Exactly. Like, by no means am I saying that Inspector is a terrible card, but it's just kind of a filler card for something better that hasn't yet been printed. I do think it's pretty good in White Weenie. I think that's the only deck that I really like it in, because it's one drop and you need a bunch of those. You know, if you didn't have those 8 inspectors, there are not a lot of other good one drops, and it uses the card draw pretty effectively and all this stuff. But then any Boros Synth list or Orzhov Glintblade, and obviously now Esper, it's just you make do with it because you have to, but I'm not a big fan. And I think that's one of the benefits of going Esper, because yeah, Jeskai, you'd still have Glinthawks and Skyfishers, and if you go artifact heavy, you could do Enforcers too, but 12 threats is kind of the bare minimum, and I definitely like that my Esper list, at least, can run 16 threats, all of which I'm happy to be attacking with at all times, pretty much. It's not the best thing Esper could be doing. Inspector, yeah, I agree. So, I mean, I've mentioned this in a couple of videos as well, but the reason that I think that I was so keen on Esper and think it can be really good is that Orzhov Glintblade, I think, has always been a pretty good deck. It has pretty good threats. It has really good removal, but it's never had amazing card draw. It uses Inspectors for card draw. It played Deadly Dispute, of course, when it was legal, but to be honest, it was probably the deck that was most non-reliant on Deadly Dispute. It was just kind of like okay to have it. And the reason for that is because it didn't play Ichor Wellspring. If you have Wellspring, you love every dispute effect. But without Ichor Wellspring, it's like, well, I don't really care if I have that or not. We are against some sort of black deck. I would guess like a Gardens deck. I kind of want to play this in Infiltrator, because if it doesn't die right away, then we start sacking landscapes, we get a Spellbomb down, it can go really aggressive. And I don't need to sack this for green until next turn to hit the Chrysalis, so I think we're just doing that. And if it just dies to a Defile or whatever, so be it. But yeah, I now feel like with Esper, it finally has a really good, there's the Defile, a really good draw package, and so I'm pretty happy with it. Okay, so this Krark is going to be pretty irrelevant in general, so we might as well just play it in case it can chip in for a little bit of damage. There's a million variations they could be playing. They could be playing just like a classic. Gardens, I'm assuming. It could just be mono black. Artifacts usually means more Gardens. They could be playing Pack Doll or anything like that. For now, I'm just going to assume it's traditional. I think we are going to sack these. We maybe lose a little bit of value if we draw another Gixian, but I think we just want some solid colors of mana. Start putting these on the field. Since we have another Chrysalis coming next turn, I'm not going to use these spawn right away here for a Wellspring, but next turn when I play the Chrysalis, I probably will. Though I'm expecting this to eat a Snuff Out or a Cast Down, but it's going to survive a Defile, which is nice. They got a bargain. Draw 3 cards. See, with a Wellspring, you want every dispute. Without them, it's just kind of a waste. Okay, unless they're sandbagging the Snuff Out until their turn, we got it going. Ooh, I was going to say that I was going to play the Chrysalis with 1 spawn, so I could also Wildfire, but obviously we need the red for the spawn, or the Chrysalis, so that's not going to happen. So I might as well just get greedy and keep as many of these to pump them both. We will play these artifacts pre-combat, so we can get in for more damage, which might be why they're sandbagging the Snuff Outs, to try to force us to play more of these, but that's okay. We're going to do this anyway. I'm not going to sack this one. It's only 1 damage at this point, and I am, without hitting a land drop this turn, I am a little low. There it is. A little low on mana, so I'd like to keep it for that. They're missing land drops, though. It's turn 6, and yeah, they're digging for them. And they've only got 3. Defile the Krark. Totally fine. Gotta commend the land choice, by the way. Us? These are some of my favorites. They have some pretty nice lands, too. Yeah, these are going to be definitely my favorite full arts. I also really like the Nyx ones from Theros Beyond Death, but those are some of my favorites for sure, and I appreciate you saying so. It's about time someone did. We're attacking for 5. I guess I don't really care about this spawn at this point. I think we'll do it for the extra damage, but we're wanting to offering this Wellspring anyway. Well, I guess that would be a reason to keep it around. We have 4 Infiltrators, and it feels like we don't see them quite as much as you'd think. Well, it's the more aggressive ones. We're going to get that down. If it survives, it could just die to another Defile or whatever, because I can't keep it alive here. Maybe that was a mistake. But if it survives, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 potential things to sacrifice. Tithing Blade. Oh, well, if we sack the Chrysalis, whenever you sacrifice another Eldrazi, dang. Well, it's going to grow the Infiltrator. I guess it is actually, I'm making jokes. It is actually kind of a choice. This is obviously way bigger, but this can grow quite a bit. But it's not going to grow bigger than 6-7 this turn. Plus, if we sack this and then they have a Defile, it's pretty awkward. Although, if they did that, they probably should have just had a Defile. Yeah, Gixian can't die to Snuff. Yeah, exactly. That's another good reason. Anything like that, I assumed if they had a conditional removal spell that could have hit one of them, they probably would have just used right there, like snuffed out the Chrysalis and then Tithing Bladed. But if they made a mistake, or just if they didn't have it right now and they drew it later, there's relevance. They had the cast down, so it didn't really matter. Okay, in any case, we'll play a refurb, and they discard an Avenging Hunter. Okay, so it is Gardens, traditional. I probably should just get this munitions down, because every time they try to throw, like shoot something now, I can just throw it. Plus we have Galvanic, so we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 damage on them. Yeah, we'll cast, they cast down, we'll ping them. So one more Galvanic is pretty close to lethal here. Well, one Galvanic would be lethal, I should say. Well, we're gonna sack these, and I could Spellbomb to draw a card here. They do have a Campfire, so I don't know. Galvanic could just be a waste. And we're not quite there for the damage, so I think we will just do this. We still have Metalcraft, so I'm not giving that up yet. There's a bridge. Okay, so again, we'll still have Metalcraft, because this is 4. Yeah. We're just a little bit short of the munitions win, so I might as well just be drawing cards here. Oh, play this artifact first, then play the refurb, discard a Thorn. They use their Campfire, I think, for the first time this game on turn 8. Cast down the Familiar. I could ping off this plant. I don't think that's relevant. They have enough other things to sacrifice. And if they have the sack right now, they would just use it. Crack a bomb. We do have an Eviscerator's Insight and a whole bunch of Blood Fountain targets, but unfortunately, I guess I probably could have played around a little bit better with the Eviscerator's Insight and had 5 up there. That was a bit of a mistake, probably. Chrysalis is a pretty good draw. It makes 3, 6, plus our Galvanic's 10 damage. Still not quite there. I probably just want to pick off this plant token before they can draw a card, now that they are running out of some stuff, or if they tapped out there. We're going to want to take out the plant before we attack with the Chrysalis anyway, so I figure might as well. They have a Mire, 6 mana for a Troll. Okay. I'm not too scared of the Troll at the moment. I could just Galvanic Blast it, throw the Spawn, and then throw a Fangs on this. They have nothing else. I think that makes sense. They have enough life that this Galvanic Blast is going to take a while to really get there. We might as well just go in on this creature. They have no... Blood Fountain's not the best draw. They have no cards in hand, so... you know, maybe they can draw removal. Of course, they have an extra draw here, but I think it's a reasonable play here. We have 6 damage with the munitions on board. They can't fire, and they flip a Tithing Blade. That's a good sign. They just have a Swamp. So that's just lethal. I mean, unless they draw a Snuff Out or something with the Spellbomb. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I guess, is there anything they could draw that would gain them a life? I guess I could tap them out. I think they're just dead, but munitions is such a good card. Oh, well, Galvanic Blast helps too. All right, let's just start throwing things at them. I guess we'll Galvanic Blast first, because then if they had any responses, we could just keep going. But munitions is great. Absolutely. All right, we get Duresses, and that's pretty much it. I mean, they have Avenging Hunter and Thorn. For Avenging Hunter, cast down's not terrible, but I think, assuming they haven't gained, you know, grown it at all, Galvanic Blast is best because it can also just go face. We don't need the Shamans. Graveyard Hate is fine against Tithing Blade. It does a little bit. They might have a Witch's Cottage. They might have some Eviscerator's Insights. We have to cut 1 card. Oh, Fangs is pretty irrelevant. Do we even care for any at all? Not really. I think I'd rather a Cast Down over a Fangs or a Krark. Yeah, I think that's good. And we'll leave the munitions because, yeah, I can just win the game there. It's a nice hand. Assuming we don't get Troublemaker oofed on turn 2, which they are setting up for. We'll lead on this bridge so that if we do, we still have our black source. Okay, Campfire. I really do not mind the Campfire. Wildfire. I'm surprised they kept that in, to be honest. I guess maybe we get grindy enough that the not milling out is relevant, but in general, I don't think the life gain is very good here. Cycle a Troll for a Swamp, and they sack their plant. Wellspring. Yeah, we could just Wellspring and Familiar. I guess I should get my 3rd artifact down first. They discarded a File. Looking for lands? No, there's the Oof. Okay. Well, now they just take out a Familiar. Not the end of the world. Looks like we're going to have a pretty good shot at just beating them in raw advantage as well with, what is this, 4 draw 2s in our hand. Bargain away the Oof. Okay, I'm also good with that. Tithing Blade. All right, we will sack this, not discard anything. Haha. And they sack it right away to an offering. Pull out some more mana, more black mana, that is. Well, we can duress them, see what's going on. Blood Fountain. Yeah, let's duress. All right, probably just take their Insight as card draw. They have some removal. Or I could take the Spellbomb because we have this Blood Fountain, which probably better. We only have 1 creature in the graveyard right now, but we will find more. Sure, we'll take the Spellbomb. And pass. They gain some more life, Insight, and then sack the Campfire. I mean, they're drawing a lot of cards too, but they're having to sack their Campfire and Tithing Blade instead of Wellsprings, which is nice. We have a million cards now. Well, we'll get them to use some of their removal and just pass. I do have another Spell Bomb, okay. Part of why I didn't really want to take the other one, but so be it. Yeah, it's fine. I could have done it in response to get the familiar, and then they could do that, but I think it's okay. This does make it so I don't really want to Insight here, because then they could Spell Bomb that away too. If they want to go for it while I'm tapped out of the Blood Fountain, that's fine. Another Blood Fountain too. There's a Chrysalis. They do have a cast down. Don't really want to play a Chrysalis where they can cast down, and then I guess I could Blood Fountain in response, then they'll Spell Bomb, and then the Chrysalis will stay in the grave. That's not terrible. Yeah, and then we'll have some mana left over. We'll have one spawn. Yeah, so they'll cast down. In response, I will do this. They will probably crack the Spell Bomb, but we'll keep the Chrysalis in our graveyard for our next fountain. I do wish that they didn't have the extra mana to draw the card here, but I don't know. Now they have a Thorn. The Black Rose? Yeah. Well, I could kill both of these and then attack with a spawn that's mapped up, but if they have any removal spell, kind of a waste. Probably better to just Blood Fountain back this Chrysalis, which we have enough mana to do. But then if it dies, I guess we just do the same thing next turn and hopefully they have less chance. That seems unlikely. Let's just draw some cards, actually. Could still maybe do the spawn plan, but if we just get some refurbs, this could be good. There we go. Play a Wellspring. See if we can hit another creature. Wildfire. Make him discard. And I guess we will Wildfire. Alright, well now if they kill the Familiar, which they do, and assuming they don't have a Bajuka Bog or another Spell Bomb, we could Blood Fountain them both back. They draw 3. There's a Lembas. Probably going to want to kill this Thorn at some point anyway, because it's going to block a Chrysalis, so I think I'll just shoot it here. Duress. Okay, do we have mana for Duress and Blood Fountain and Chrysalis and Refurb? 5 mana for the Blood Fountain. Chrysalis. Yes, we should. So start with the Duress then. See what they're working with. Defile, double Snuff Out, Eviscerators, Lembas, Weather. Okay, I don't care about Weather. Defile's the only thing that can kill the Refurb, so that's what we're going to try to take. Well, that's what we're going to succeed in taking. Yeah, we're gonna have to sack the spawn to this. Oh, not the blood token, please. The Blood Fountain. Buy these back. Play a Refurb. Chrysalis just dies to a Snuff Out, but what else are we doing? I guess holding up Insight. No, we're only at 4. Yeah, I think we're just playing it then. They discard the Weather. That's a wise choice, unless they're just gonna try to, you know, draw. I don't really know why Weather's in their deck in the first place. Their main deck here, that is. I guess maybe just to survive Makeshift, but they Insight the, what was that, a plant? Lembas. Scry to the bottom there, and just hard cast a Snuff Out. Okay. I mean, might as well if they have nothing else to spend the mana on, but I like that they're just tapping out here. Means we should be able to take the Monarch. Could maybe have spent some maps to buff this up a little bit. They're at 21 cards in deck, so I guess taking the Monarch, you know, maybe we mill out here, especially if they have another Campfire, but I don't think that's my primary concern at the moment. We'll see if that's a mistake, but we have more creatures to play. That one dodges Snuff Out. And we'll just pass here. I didn't leave up black mana because I'm a bit of a goof. They have a Troublemaker. That can take out the Refurb. It does. There's a Thorn. Okay. They have a Snuff Out for the Chrysalis. I can cast down the Thorn. I'm going to crack this Blood, which is going to grow the Infiltrator. We have another Chrysalis. And another Refurb. Well, let's slam all our creatures on the field, I think. Oop. Take out the one with Death Touch, suit up an Eldrazi spawn so we can attack in. We'll leave a Wildfire on top, buff it up again so we can probably take the Monarch here, play this, and attack. They block there. They could still certainly have 2 removal spells for these, but if they're using removal spells on not the Infiltrator and the Chrysalis, we should be able to take Monarch next turn pretty easily. But yeah, that one got through. And I guess we'll buff the Refurb. Don't know if I needed to do that now. Probably not, but we'll pass. Draw Wildfire. They offering Lembas. Draw 2. Play a Wellspring. And another Lembas. If they don't have removal or like blockers here, we probably have enough damage on the field. We have 6 more spawn, which is at least 12 damage. There's one blocker. I guess we'll do what I didn't do last time, which is sack a land here as an extra power. Galvanic can clear the blocker, which is going to definitely deal more damage in the long run. They're going to cast down in response. That's fine. We will blow up one of their lands. That's funny. We did have 1 land left, which I knew about, but I figured in case we do mill out, not putting it on the field is probably best, but then we just drew it, so, you know, that's fine. Attack. I think we'll just sack a bunch of these. We still have munitions in the game, so it's possible we should just, or in the deck, that we should just leave some of these on the field. And we're getting in for 10 damage here. Kind of like it to be a little bit more. Munitions is going to be pretty lethal regardless, so I think we'll just slam for a bunch and draw a card here. Another Chrysalis, nice. Classic. What's classic here? There's a troll. Drawing the 1 land out of 13. Yeah. Absolutely. That's how it works. They have the removal for all these guys. And then Bajuka Bog. Okay. I guess there's a chance. What are the odds? Apparently 100%. Sounds about right to me. Well, I guess we will... We're already milling out faster than they are. So we'll crack this in case we can get more... Yep, more pressure quicker, and they crack their Lembas. I guess I should check my deck list, see what what we have left. We've only used 2 Galvanic Blasts, so we've got 2 left of those, plus we have the Makeshift Munitions, which is a lot of damage. So we have a lot of damage left, which is nice. They, of course, are cycling their Lembuses right away. This Infiltrator can be 1, 2, 3, 4. It could be a 6/5, which would just trade. This would be a 5/6 as well. I mean, Munitions right now is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 damage, plus whatever we can attack for. So Munitions off the top, pretty close to lethal, although they looks like they're going to be at 18. With this Lembas potentially, or they could hold up a removal spell. We have no more lands, so no reason to sack the landscape yet. I am gonna discard this because I think I'd rather just find the Munitions. Galvanic's not terrible either. We are gonna duress them. They have Pulse to gain more life, or a Tithing Blade, which I don't care about, so we'll take Pulse. If I attack, these could trade. I hit for like a bunch, probably worth it. They block here, so I have to sack all 3 of these if I want to deal enough damage. They could gain 3 life here, but otherwise they don't have much else. If I sack a bunch of these, Tithing Blade gets better, but I could sack these and deal 7. They go to 8, 11, 7. Don't really care to make these trade, because then the Tithing Blade's really good. 5. I think we just let this go. I could Galvanic the Troll if I really want, but I don't think that's necessary. Wildfire, not doing too much here. They have who knows how many Lembuses left in their deck. They can just keep going through them. But none of them are in exile. Of course, they would have had to be sitting in the graveyard, or I would have had to take them a nit specifically. So probably 3 in their deck. You know, maybe they can do this. That'd be pretty funny. So maybe I should have shot this guy last time with the Galvanic. Duress. Well, I guess we'll take a freaking Tithing Blade. None of these really matter. They're not going to draw cards. I can Stone Rain them, because I don't think they're going to find a land out of this. Intentionally, probably. Even if they do have one. We get a Lembas. There's a Galvanic. That's not enough. I'd rather find the Munitions. There it is, finally. So I can shoot this with the Galvanic and the Munitions, and then that'll give us the most damage by attacking them, I think. I don't need the life gain here, so we'll sack the Lembas. Oh, plus we get damage from the Gixian by sacrificing to the Munitions. We took the Tithing Blade, so we don't need to worry about that. So we'll attack, throw some more of these. I don't think we have lethal this turn, but next turn probably. Might as well throw some lands as well, just make every bit do as much as possible. Landscape can sack itself. Not that we have any lands left to get with it. So we hit for 10. They're at 9 after this Lembas. We'll see. Let's see. They have 12 mana, so theoretically with Lembas they could gain another 9. Ooh, and we have another Infiltrator, which maybe can attack 1 turn. They're just playing Avenging Hunter. I mean, if they don't find a Lembas, we just have lethal. I guess we need 1 more creature to have lethal on board, but we will have that. And they have a Troll. Okay. Map. They find a Campfire. If only they found that a little sooner. Wellspring. That's pretty funny. I believe we have them with 9 damage here. Let's see. I guess I played that 9 mana even with this. 6. Yeah. I didn't need to play this Wellspring, and that was a bit goofy that I did. And we know the Munitions is on the very bottom, or the Galvanic. No, it's right there. Nice. All right. Throw some bridges, and that'll be the game. All right. Definitely a grindy one. Jund, probably the grindiest mid-range deck versus a very hard control deck. But we were able to get there in the end. Thank you very much. Every time that I'm worried about going to time, which is basically any time I'm not near the end of game 3 at sub 10 minutes, I'm like, well, I just go into overdrive. And not that that means I always play perfectly. Sometimes I make lots of mistakes, but I try to play as quickly as possible. But yeah, we also had 1 card left in our deck, which is pretty cool. I don't think I had any way to draw that, or winning with no cards in library would have been pretty sweet. For anybody chilling out here, make sure to check my Twitter or my Blue Sky, because I'm giving away 120 play points, 5 different codes for that on MTGO. As part of the MTGO Creator Program, I've been given some codes to give to some other people, so check that out if you want potentially a free draft or entry into a league. And otherwise, just enjoy some more Jund Wildfire. I am liking this Gixian Infiltrator pretty well. I don't think I probably like it as much as the standard Wildfire list, because I like the grinding a little bit more. Obviously, this list can grind as well, but I don't feel like I generally need more win cons, and no Hydra is very, very sad. Hydra is one of my favorite cards from Modern Horizons 3, which had like 25 playable cards in it. But this list is still pretty sweet, and I always love new innovation, like trying new things. So, all right, pretty good hand, nice removal, and a whole bunch of value. Opponent most of 5. All right, bad luck or combo, which is it? We're in a bit of a combo meta with Spy and High Tide, so I'm gonna guess combo. Ooh, just bad luck it looks like. Guess I lost this round. Faithless Looting and Great Furnace. That means they're probably doing the newish Melded Moxite list. Oh, never mind. They're doing Rakdos Madness with Artifact Lands, which has become less popular. Another Galvanic's not bad. We currently are representing 5 of our basics in our hand, so that's always fun. We're certainly not, I mean, despite their mulligan, we're already, we've taken 5 damage, which isn't an incredible amount. They only have 2 cards left, but it's also, by turn 2 is quite a lot. And currently don't have a lot of ways to stave off damage. We'll probably Galvanic this next turn just to stop that from attacking. Although they're desperate. Blood tokening away an Alms of the Vein with no way to cast it. Definitely looking for that black mana, which is definitely good for us. I guess if I got a mountain off of the last Wildfire, I could Wildfire and Galvanic this turn and play a bridge. So I probably should have done that. I just figured, if I need double red, I have the mountain in hand, but then, oh my gosh. And there we go. What are the odds, someone? Because this is all of our basics. We drew 4 of them naturally in the top 12 cards of our deck, and we're pulling out the other 2. I might as well do this before I top deck the other one. And I mean, I'm either Galvanic Blasting or I'm playing a Wellspring. It's 1 damage. We have the mana, though. I'd rather not take unnecessary damage at this point. They are pretty far behind, but we are also a deck that sometimes has the problem of drawing all of our card draw and our value and none of our creatures, and that could just lead to us dying. So I will try to be as responsible as possible and not let that happen, but they have nothing there, so that's a good sign. Spellbomb's not bad either, because that is something we can just set down if they find a snacker and a draw 2. They might already have the snacker. They certainly would have been playing a draw 2 if they had it. Okay, well, we are still getting flooded, but I'm not feeling too poorly about our position. Even if they get a Black Source and a Kitchen Imp, I can Galvanic Blast that. I can take out the snacker now. They do bolt us. If they just have a bunch of direct damage, I can't do much about that. I find another Great Furnace. I realized I could have maybe taken the Faithless Looting away from them. I don't know if that would have been right, but they can't. All they're really doing here is digging. They're not madnessing anything, and any snackers that go in the bin I can just get rid of with the Spell Bomb. I think we'll just not use it yet, and I do need to find something. I guess I'll use it now. There's a Refurb. With them tapped out, that's not bad. Of course, now they could put a snacker in the bin. Yep, definitely awkward sequencing there. They finally found their Black Source. 2 cards left in hand, so we're not super worried, but I would love a draw 2 into some other stuff. There's a Wildfire. Man, I wish their Black Source was not an indestructible land. We'll attack for 3. And what card is good if you pull a bunch of lands? What card is good? Raven's Crime, I'm assuming is what you're referencing. I think, have I tried Raven's Crime in Jund Wildfire? I'm not sure if I have. It probably would not be bad. You draw a lot of land in this deck, and you're a mid-range deck, so hey, that's not a bad idea. I should just think for every single deck, finally we find something. For every single deck, does Raven's Crime fit here? If the answer is no, I should just stop playing that deck because it's clearly garbage. All right, we're not in a bad spot, but we're not in a great spot. Unexpected Fangs off the top would be probably our best draw, because that pretty much means we can't lose. I guess a draw spell into an Unexpected Fangs would probably be the best. Whereas if we don't find that, we could just die to, Lightning Bolt into a Lightning Bolt. Okay. If we don't die this turn, I should have played Infiltrator first so I could have sacked these spawn for counters here. That's annoying that I missed that. We attack for 5 then. They're at 14. Next turn, I can attack for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Plus I have a Galvanic, which is lethal unless they gain life. But we can have Krark to sacrifice. Okay, we should be fine. I mean, assuming we don't just die. But I should have played the Infiltrator first for sure, for a little bit of extra damage. Don't see a problem with that. Yeah, I mean, I already think that any deck that's not playing black is not really worth our time as the best color in Magic. All right, if they do the math, they're going to know that they have this one turn to finish us off. So yeah, they should definitely just dig with their blood tokens. Although it's tough because if they fire into Fiery Temper or whatever, they're going to want the blood token to use it. There's a Lightning Bolt. Well, we die to another Lightning Bolt, Fiery Temper, and Alms of the Vein, or card draw into any of those. They get rid of a Jagged Barrens. They find a Faithless Looting. All right, moment of truth. Discard a Fiery Temper. Man, we just drew so poorly. We drew a million lands, and they're mulligan to 5 with playing no black spells for like 6 turns. Don't think there's any way we can survive here. No life gain. That is definitely annoying. In general, I would say it's nice that they're playing artifact lands because we can take advantage of that. However, this sideboard, again, I didn't make the list. I just copied Walker's list. But this sideboard does not run any artifact tape. I assume that's because both this deck's already pretty good against Grixis Affinity, and Affinity is kind of died off. It's just not really around right now. But definitely sucks here. We can't take advantage of that. I would have loved to see one of these. But we get Duress and Weather the Storm. You'd have won with Raven's Crime. No, look, you're right. I don't think it would have been the most insane card ever, but making them discard a couple of cards would absolutely have won us the game there. But I also can think of probably 1,000 other cards that would have won us the game there, some of which were actually in our deck. So, you know, we would have still had to draw the Raven's Crime as opposed to 14 lands or whatever. We probably don't need Blood Fountain, and Insight are a little grindier. Obviously, all the life gain and the removal, cheap removal that can go face is pretty good for racing or taking out an attacker. I guess maybe we just cut like an Offering. Spellbomb's nice against Snacker. Or I could just cut both Blood Fountains. That actually seems reasonable. Usually I don't like that. Certainly if we have Enforcers I don't want to cut two, but with just Refurbs I think it's probably fine. Alright, one lander with a lot of good cards. One lander with just a much worse hand in general. Now it's our turn to go to 5 and win, right? Well, we're going to keep this one. I guess we just get rid of one of these, and do we just go... We probably want these, so do I want a Duress? Do I want an Infiltrator? Infiltrator just dies to things early until I have a bunch of stuff, so I guess we'll just keep the Duress. I don't know if that's the best. They have an Epicure, more card draw. Now this is going to be the one where we don't see more than 2 lands all game, I bet. That's how it goes. They got the Kitchen Imp. Well, I mean, Refurb blocks this. Question is, do I want to get greedy and play like an Offering to draw 3? If we had an untapped black, I could still play a Refurb, or I could Cleansing Wildfire to hit our land drops. I don't think one Familiar here is going to do us enough good. So I think we are going to get greedy. And we find 3 lands, almost too much, but we do get to play... No, it had to be an untapped. It had to be a Vault of Whispers. I miscalculated there. I could Duress them, though. I don't need the green right now. Obviously, if we top deck a Chrysalis, it's annoying. I think we will Duress them. If we can take like a Grab the Prize or something. Okay, well, their hand is stacked. That's unfortunate. Faithless, Fiery Temper, 2 Kisses... Lightning Bolt. I guess we take Fiery Temper. It does as much damage as a bolt, but it replaces itself since they discarded to one of these. Taking one of these is pretty irrelevant. Same with the looting. I guess, yeah, we just take the damage. I'm trying to think if there was a way we could have won that last game. I could have Galvanic Blasted the Epicure in the early game 1 turn sooner, but I would have had to not play my 2-drop on turn 2, like my Cleansing Wildfire, which I just don't think I was ever doing. And I still did kill it before it hit me again after that. So yeah, maybe that would have saved me the game, but it just looked like it was such a big tempo loss that I didn't love it. And now they just have everything. Well, we get a Refurb and a Wildfire, I guess, or a Fanatical, but I guess we might as well have more mana. And now we've seen 1 Duress, but we haven't seen any of our Weather the Storms. We haven't seen an Unexpected Fangs in either game, which is kind of main deck hate against a burn deck. No attacks. Aw, they were not scared. Unfortunately. Vampire's Kiss. Do I plan to start another league after this? I think this is going to be a short stream day. So I think we're just going to finish this one out, and it'll be the end there, unfortunately. I got some other stuff to get done today, and my brother Andrew also streams on the channel here, and he does a custom cards stream every Tuesday in the evening, and so he'll be doing that in a few hours, and I don't want to overlap with his time either. Well, I guess I take a Lightning Bolt, and maybe if they draw really poorly and we draw something at all here, I guess I'd rather just draw 2 than draw 1, huh? Alright, we are super dead. Yeah, we have one more match. I am going to try to stream on, let me check my calendar, probably Friday or Saturday this weekend as well. So, you know, watch out for that. Oh, it's September already. Gee. Yeah, Friday and or Saturday. Maybe I'll do both, but one of them I will be streaming as well. And I think we're going to play Black Sack on stream then, finally. I've been putting it off because, not putting it off, but I've already had like 3 or 4 Black Sack videos pre-recorded that I've been releasing. I still have one more in about 2 weeks, but I just put out one, and then I figured give the people what they want. So yeah, so make sure to stay informed about that. This hand's okay. We're not going to mulligan it. Yeah, so I've been wanting to do that. I figured people would enjoy that. I'll probably try to, once I know my weekend schedule a little bit better, make a big thing out of it, post about it in the Discord, and, you know, try to post about it at least a day before so that people will be aware of it. All right, looks like we're against Is It Terror. If I play a Wellspring, they could Spell Pierce it. That's kind of all we got going for us, but if they're going to have the Spell Pierce for a while anyway, I don't know. Here it is. Yeah, so I probably will end up just doing my like stock list, because I think that would be the most fun since it'll be my first Black Sack stream. But I suppose if people have, you know, find an interesting list before then and want to suggest one, I would be open to that as well. I would definitely love to do a little bit more, you know, viewers choose the decks that I'm playing. While I'm kind of getting started and don't necessarily have as many viewers and stuff, I'm, you know, just trying to make sure I have an idea. But if people want to suggest things, I'm happy to do whatever. Black Sack has this cool feeling of playing just a bunch of shitters and winning with that. Yeah, it is definitely a deck that looks bad on paper, and then it crushes. Sometimes it wins a Pauper challenge, which is fantastic. Yeah, it definitely gets a little bit underappreciated, and it's much more than the sum of its parts. You know, that old phrase, because it's just a bunch of guys that do not do a lot of work by themselves, and then are just absolutely fantastic together. I am a huge fan. All right, they got 4 spells in Grave. I don't really want to run a Chrysalis out into a counterspell here, so I think we're just going to pass. Breath Weapon. That's fine by me. It makes sense. I mean, if they are about to put down a couple terrors, they want to make sure they don't just die. Plus, it fills their grave a little bit more, but, or if they do that, also reasonable. Well, I'm going to just shoot that, I think. Maybe they have a Dispel, but if not, do I want to cycle this land? That might be greedy. I get to put down a Chrysalis, but I could also put down a Krark if I keep it. I probably should not cycle this on 4 lands. Oh, but 5 lands. Now we're fine. Yeah, do I want to put a Chrysalis and a Krark down? Then they have to have 2 removal spells for them. If they play a Terror, I can play another Chrysalis and attack past. I do lose this Landscape as a card, which now that I have this 5th land, I kind of want. But I do really need to take that Monarch, so I think yes. They do already have 5 lands for Skred, so unfortunately this first Chrysalis might just be dead right away, but maybe the second one can survive. Unless they hit a land drop here and then a land drop on the next turn, which is totally possible. And then have another Skred too. Nothing at the end step though. Murmuring Mystic? That'd be pretty annoying. Commodore. Okay. Interesting. I mean, I can kill that with a Krark. Of course, that means this dies to a Bolt, but not if I Chrysalis first, although that means I would need to sack all the spawn right away. Kind of interesting. Ooh, Makeshift actually lets me hit this and still attack with both of these, which means I can probably take the Monarch. They do have a counterspell up though. Okay, well if I play Chrysalis for 4, yeah, I can play Chrysalis for 4. If they counterspell that, then I can put down munitions, take this out, and get the Monarch. I think I can probably get the Monarch no matter what here, with only 1 red that they have, but we'll see. I guess if they don't counter this and I play munitions and they counter that, I could still get it by wiping this away with the Krark. In response, they have the Skred for the Chrysalis. Yeah, I can't keep that alive, so I might as well just let it go. And now, hope they don't have... I mean, a Spell Pierce would prevent us from taking the Monarch here. I could get the munitions down, but I'd have to sack 2 spawn, and then I only have 1 mana to throw, and then if I sack anything to the Krark, it doesn't attack in. Still not bad, because they're spending a lot of resources. Yeah, looks like they have it. Yep. Well, we're definitely getting the munitions down, so that's just going to be fine, because, yeah, 1 mana. All right, well, if they draw well, they can still keep us from the Monarch here, because if they play creatures, or if they have another Skred for this Chrysalis, still attack was good. I mean, I could have traded with the Crimson Fleet with the Krark, but I don't really want to do that, seeing as I can just pick off the Crimson Fleet with 2 lands and or spawn here. And then I want to have 2 attackers to take the Monarch. So, like, I wouldn't have been taking the Monarch regardless, and I don't really want to trade my one of my attackers for it at the moment. They are desperately looking for more creatures, it looks like, terrors and the like, or lands, because if they do have a Skred, why couldn't I think of it? Skred, yeah. Ooh, that's not a bad draw, just because it can grow alongside everything else. I'll play that, see if they want to counter it. I guess if I sack the spawn proactively, they could Skred the Chrysalis. So I probably should just sacrifice lands here. I think that makes the most sense. because then even if they have a Bolt for the Krark, Skred's not going to take out the Chrysalis. Whereas if they do have one of each and I proactively sack the spawn, I cannot take the Monarch here. If they Bolt this, then I would have to sacrifice 3 more things right now to keep it alive. Is that worth it? I could sack this for a land, sack 2 of these. Keeps it around. It's not bad, actually. I mean, I lose a lot of lands, but I have a lot of threats. We're sacking something to this anyway. 1 damage, and I'm going to be sacking this anyway. So at this point, it's just 1 more bridge, which means I probably should get green and sack the green bridge. Sure. I think this makes sense. If I had to sack like 1 more land, I probably wouldn't do it. And if they just bolt this again, so be it. But I think keeping a 6/5 around feels worth it. Plus we take the Monarch, and now things are going to be pretty good for us, I think. Not to mention we just have lethal on them like next turn. Spellbomb's not bad either. They ponder and don't shuffle. Lorien, they need something pretty good. Tap land is not going to do it. We definitely have lethal on them. We will swing. Currently we have 12. I guess we only have to sack 1 thing at that. We grow this. So that's, yeah, enough damage. All right. Well, I think we navigated that Monarch pretty well. We're able to take it pretty quickly, considering. Red Blast, Duress, and Cast Down are all good because they're going to have Terrors, they're going to have Mystics, and obviously their Monarch creatures are pretty good too. We don't need Fangs. Munitions was good there. In general, it's not the best because it's never going to kill a Terror. Killing a Mystic with it's pretty rough. And yeah, Crimson Fleet or Azure for 3 those are the only ones that's really good against. Plus, if we're bringing in all of these, which I might not be able to, but if we're trying to bring these all in, I have a lot to cut. I guess Galvanic Blast really is not great. Doesn't kill Mystic, doesn't kill Terror. It does kill the Monarch creatures. That game was all about Monarch, but generally those are the only 2 Monarch creatures they're probably playing, so I don't think these are super relevant. They are going to have Terrors. Sometimes these lists, because it's not really a Terror deck, right? It's not trying to turbo out a Terror, it's a control deck. So sometimes they run as few as 2 Terrors. Spellbomb's still not a bad card. It's not as mandatory as against like a mono blue or even a blue black Terror. Infiltrator's good. Lembas is not, the life gain's not super relevant. Blood Fountain is good. They have Skred and things to take out any of our 12 threats, not to mention counter spells, of course. Yeah, Krark is never amazing. Yes, yeah, I was just getting there, but good call. I see, because we have the room, I'll probably leave 1 in. I don't hate it. I feel like every time I take them all out, there's one time where it's like, oh, they have 2 Terrors or a Terror and a Mystic, and I could wipe them all away, and it's really good. But yeah, you don't generally want to have to do that, especially with no Death Touch. I think cutting 2 of them is definitely a good call. We got the old 1-lander. We got the old 5-lander with double Red Blast. I mean, we're keeping this one. I guess how greedy do we want to be? With 2 Wildfires, I want to put back a land, but if the Wildfires don't resolve and then we don't draw a land, it's kind of rough. Although we don't have black mana at all, so we really need one to resolve anyway. I guess I could just wait till turn 3, play it, and hold up with a Red Blast. That's probably better, so maybe I get rid of one of them. Of course, I want to be greedy, and now we're going to draw, 6 lands in a row. But if we had bottomed this, we would draw no lands ever. So, that's what you have to consider. Some great draws here. I mean, they're not bad as long as they, play slowly here, which they are, because they're going to be playing based on us. So I could go for the Wildfire here with 1 Red Blast. Feels like they're going to have the double counter though, so maybe I do it next turn with my double counter up. Thing about their deck being a control deck is that they generally are not super proactive. I guess if they put an Azure Fleet Admiral down there, I could counter it. If they did Crimson Fleet, that could be bad because I couldn't really do anything about that. Okay, so we could go for the Cleansing Wildfire this time, but now we just drew the bridge, so I kind of like just passing here. Like if we Wildfire, they counterspell, we Red Blast, even if we get that through, then they slam down like a Mirroring Mystic or something. It's kind of rough. Like I don't hate how this game has gone already, just us hitting land drops. Obviously Cleansing Wildfire to accelerate us is the goal, but not always what you can do against a control counterspell deck. They Brainstorm and they have Cast into the Fire for our bridge. Okay, not amazing. Obviously I can't do anything about it, but we do get to probably just do Wildfire next turn with Red Blasts. We get a bridge again. So I could do Wildfire. If they have a Hydro and then I have Red Blast and they have another Hydro, I still get the Drossforge bridge down. So I think for that reason it's fine. If I didn't top deck that, I would just start with the Mountain and, then I'd have double Red Blast. But we're going to do this. It might be not great because they could get down a Mystic and then have another counterspell. But we also have a Duress next turn. Yep, they did indeed have that. Yeah, next turn we have a Duress and then we can Red Blast, so I don't know. This is a weird game for sure. Okay, just slamming a Lorien is pretty annoying, I will admit. Now they're definitely up in advantage. Get another bridge. All we're drawing this game is bridges and wildfires. I guess I might as well duress first, right? See what they got. Brainstorm's annoying because they can hide their 2 best cards. I could Red Blast it, but then we're not going to be able to take a Mystic or a Terror anyway. So I kind of need to save the Red Blast for that. And if they're really lucky, they won't draw any spells either, and they'll be able to tuck all of their spells, but that's not the case. So Annul or Ponder, they do have a Mystic, and then they have 2 other spells, or maybe terrors or things they want to not let us know about. I assume probably just counter spells. We don't currently have an Annul target, and to be honest, Ponder with a Mystic is any cantrips with a Mystic is my least favorite card for them to have. So we'll Wildfire, pull out another Black Source. We get a Familiar, we'll play this and pass. Can Wildfire them, I suppose? Ooh, that's not a bad idea. Yeah, I mean, classic Wildfire them to shuffle their Brainstorm, but when they probably brainstormed cards they wanted, that's not a terrible idea. Well, we're gonna blast this. I'm sure they have the counterspell on top, but then Mystic at least doesn't get them a guy, and if we top deck another removal spell or something, yeah, I think you were probably onto something there, Big Mech. I think that probably would have been the best, because they wouldn't have drawn that counterspell unless they were super lucky. And we know they have the Annul, so we can't play this Refurb. Yeah, just forgot about the hidden tech on Wildfire just to shuffle. I could Spellbomb. They Annul it, potentially. Then I get a Refurb down, take their last card. Refurb's not amazing against a bird. Also, if they have 2 counterspells, we kind of just give them more aggro. I think we have enough mana that we just wait. Hopefully we draw something good next turn and we can deploy 3 cards instead of just 2. It's a May, though, so if the cards were really good, they could have declined. You're right, but that would have kept them off red mana. So, and obviously just Stone Rain's not bad. So you're still right. I think that probably would have been a good play. Okay, Wellspring is like just good enough. They probably will Annul it. Then I can Refurb and then Spellbomb. Maybe they'll let it go, but they get a bird out of it. Plus this draws us 2. I think, yeah, they'll probably bite there. Question is, what are their other good cards? Because one of them was another card they had brainstormed, so it could just be another counterspell. They have enough mana, so even if they draw Terror and I Spellbomb away their graveyard, they can still cast one, so it's not as important that I get the Spellbomb down. I don't know. I guess I cast Spellbomb, see if they want to counter that. They don't care to. I'll just use it right away. At least we will make Terrors more expensive. Chrysalis. So I can only cast one of those. Chrysalis probably eats a counterspell. Refurb might not. I kind of don't want to just cast one more spell here. I want to wait another turn, I think. We're not under a ton of pressure, but obviously we hope we draw another card that they want to counter, so we'll have 3 good threats next turn. Cleansing Wildfire. Not the best, but I guess we'll use it. Just in case they have a Cast of the Fire, we'll use it like this. Or if they have a Blue Blast, they might just use it because they don't have a lot of use for it, but that's fine. Now we get a Refurb. Okay. I can try to take 2 cards from their hand. Then Chrysalis. They have 3 cards, unfortunately, but what are you going to do about it? I assume it's mostly like Lightning Bolts and Screds. That one resolves. Or just lands. Okay. That one does not resolve. Well, now we'll put this out and hope they don't have another counterspell. And they did. Like I said, one of those was the card they brainstormed, so it's not totally unreasonable. It's still pretty unreasonable, though. They drew like a Cast of the Fire. Yeah. Well, we'll take 4. It's a good draw. Might not be enough, though. They're at 4 birds, so it might just be enough to hold them off from attacking, as long as they don't get a Scred or something. A Terror. Not the worst, since we have blockers for it. Plus the Chrysalis can eat it. Okay, that's a great draw. Creature, plus it gives us another card. That's less of a good draw. I guess I'll hold it for a Blood Fountain. No, I sided those out, didn't I? Right? Both of them? No, I did not. Yeah, why would I? I just couldn't remember. Yeah, we'll hold it for a Blood Fountain in case we get that. Okay, no attacks. I mean, I don't really like running it out if they did draw a counterspell, but if they didn't, this could be, set off a chain of events for us, and that resolves. Well, it could also just be 1 draw. But now if we get a Fanatical Offering, it's a boost of cards, so they don't have an Annul, at least didn't right there. At some point, if we don't draw more, like a removal spell for Mystic, which we brought the cast downs for, then they're just going to make enough birds and they can go around our guys. They do probably need 2 or 3 more birds for that to start happening, but also just 1 removal spell would do it. That looks like another Cast of the Fire, maybe? No. Oh, well, that's even worse. Okay, they have Monarch now. Landscape, gonna cycle that. Well, there's not really a reason for me to attack with 1 bird or 1 zombie rat and eat a bird. I guess I'll pass. Not really sure how we get out of this one now that they have Monarch, though. I mean, like a cast down for the Mystic is a start, but they're gonna start having a bunch of counter spells. That's a pretty dang good draw. Not just a draw 3, but a draw 5. Cast down's good. Wellspring's okay. Another Wildfire. We have one basic left. I guess we'll use that. They have the cast into the fire. Maybe we should have just led on the cast down at some point here, but I'm trying to draw like another Red Blast or Duress or something so that we can actually get the cast down through, which I'm not convinced it will. I guess we can draw 3 with this Eviscerator's Insight in the graveyard. So we will do that. Get a refurb. I guess that will take a card. And then we can play a swamp, cast down in their upkeep. It gets around Spell Pierce. That's about it. Oop, let me make sure to play on my swamp. Still can't really attack. But might as well do it in their upkeep. It's got to be the Mystic. And if they have a Dispel or something, we're just not going to be able to do it. Or like a Lose Focus, looks like. I think it's a Lose Focus. There it is. All right. And just for good measure, they replicate it twice. I cannot pay. We get another Chrysalis. We'll play that. We'll start drawing cards. I mean, we do have a lot of card draw here. If we can find another removal spell and they can't counter it, maybe we could get somewhere. Ooh, Infiltrator grows 2. We have a Blood Fountain. I mean, I guess maybe we could just swarm the board with more bigger threats. Seems kind of tough, but currently we now have 3 guys growing, and I think I continue to not use my black mana as effectively as I should be. They have 8, potentially 9 snowlands for a Scred. So I guess we'll try to keep this Chrysalis alive with a map, potentially. Wellspring. Sure, we'll leave that on top. I guess I could attack, because this can block this. This can almost block that. I can block here. Sure, we'll attack. No Nyxborn Hydra also makes it so that the birds are just gonna... There's no way to really trample over. They block with the Terror and the Crimson Fleet. Okay. I mean, it's a fine trade, I suppose. It's possible the right thing to do is just not attack at all, which I think is totally possible, but I also feel like I kind of need to start making a move of some sort. Well, Double Mystic is pretty rough. Wellspring, looks like they have the Annul. Spell Pierce, fair enough. Just get it used. Duress. Okay, we'll try that. They have the Counterspell. I guess if they just play everything, they could probably just get us with birds, is their goal. I could Blood Fountain 5. I could buy back a Chrysalis and play it. Probably should just do that as a blocker. Or I could buy back 2 refurbs, right? We have 2? No, we just have 1. I guess we'll just get the both Chrysalises then. Sack some spawn. So we're going to have 4 blockers. They have 7 other birds beyond that. So like a bolt or something definitely might get us. But if there's not a bolt, we might be fine. Map onto a bird so it might survive. Chrysalis on top is pretty good. So we're not going to attack with any of the guys who block birds, but we will just throw a Infiltrator at them. That eats a bird. I mean, maybe we have a shot here. We have 2 more Chris's coming. They have an Azure Fleet Admiral. Okay. They're Monarch again. That gets unblockable if we ever get the Monarch. Gonna play all 4 Chris's on the field at the same time. Achievement unlocked. Draw 3 cards here. We have a Duress. We have another Duress and a cast down. And yet I've tapped out of black once again. There's just so many spells to cast. I should have sacked some spawn along the way though. They have a Crimson Fleet Commodore in hand, and we have a bunch of guys. I'll swing with these 2 big guys now. They're gonna chump them both. Hello. All right, well, we get to Duress them and then cast down to maybe prevent... Oh, and Krark. And that could just wipe the Mystics entirely. Excuse me. That could be good. Start with the Duress. Make sure the coast is clear. In response, they're going to bolt something or Scred something. Chrysalis that cannot survive even if I sack all of these. Okay. Another Ponder. And then... Okay, I think we're going to play a Krark. And we're going to sacrifice 5 artifacts. And we're going to wipe the Mystics that way, because it also gets the Commodore or the Admiral. And then we have a for anything else they get, and this way it also grows our guys a bunch. Blood Fountain here, so we're going to float a black here. 1. This is an insane game. Oh right, this also grows the Infiltrator, although it's already enormous, so it doesn't really matter. Alright, we're gonna let those go off, wipe away their guys, then I can Blood Fountain back, refurb and Chris, and we can play Chris again. I also thought this was an 100% lost game, and now I believe it's an 100% won game. But I mean, this is what I live for. I love it when things get really grindy like this. All right, we attack with all of these. Just make sure we can't die. They only have 10 birds. They have to block a bunch of these. Plus, we have a cast on. I think we're fine. Never surrender, I guess. I mean, look, 80-90% of the time when it looks dire, you lose the game. But there is a surprising amount of games where you can just squeak out a win by just holding on. There have been many games where, like, against Rakdos Madness especially, they stand out in my mind, where it's like, I'm at 5 life, They have 3 cards in hand, and I'm not going to be able to take over the game for at least like 3 or 4 turns, and the game's basically over, but I keep playing. And then they just top deck 4 lands in a row, and it doesn't matter. All right, they're taking 10 here, and we get the Monarch, which I guess could be a liability, but I think we'll be able to finish them off in 6 turns. We have 2 blockers, plus a cast down, so we shouldn't die to these birds, plus obviously if they swing all out at the birds, with the birds, we can get them. Look, you just gotta hold on and try. Mystic is a very scary card. They had 12 birds with 2 Mystics, but then they stopped. They'd gone through so many of their counterspells early that eventually they ran out. And to be fair, I think it took a very long time for them to draw any like Screds. So I think that was maybe a little unlucky for them, but we were able to get there in the end. So yeah, so this version is pretty sweet. Getting the Gixian Infiltrators. I really like them. I like that they have a use here, that people are enjoying that because they ended up being not quite good enough, I think, for Black Sack. So I like to see them shine somewhere. I don't think this is my preferred version. I think I like the more traditional version a little bit better with more value. Hydra, I think, just wins you too many games by itself. Pulsa Marasa is a good card. It's not necessarily my favorite always. But also Cast Down I do really like, especially right now in the meta. There's so much terror going around, and Gardens is making a bit of a comeback, which means, you know, Troll of Khazad Doom's coming back, things like that. But this is definitely a cool version to try out every once in a while. And yeah, if you just hold on, try to play to your outs, sometimes you can just get there against someone when it looks absolutely dire. By the way, you won with the Krark you left purposefully. Absolutely, you're right. We took out 2 Krarks. I kept 1 in, and we drew it at the perfect time. And then, you know, we were already in a very good spot. But the fact that we didn't, like, if we just cast down one of those Mystics, they still had one. Plus, they had the Azure Fleet, who would be unblockable once I took the Monarch. They absolutely could have come back from that if they, like, maybe top decked a Lightning Bolt, enough birds, plus the Azure Fleet, plus the Lightning Bolt maybe could kill us. Yeah, so I do like to have an out to them having a couple Mystics or a couple Terrors on the board with like a 1-of Krark. But in general, you certainly don't need all of them. So, well, that was fun. Like I said, this is going to be the only league I do today. A little bit shorter of a stream, but I will be streaming Friday or Saturday. Not exactly sure yet when. Just make sure you're, you know, following me on the socials, and I'll be posting there probably. But we are going to do Black Sack live. I'll probably do my stock list, and then if we have time, maybe do a different list as well after that. So make sure to tune in for that. Yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.